Cheers and welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Yes, this is part 2 of the Belgian Tripel 1 gallon. And don't worry, if you don't have an iGulu yet, not a big deal. Hopefully you fermented in a 1 gallon, you put it into a big bottling bucket, added your corn sugar for carbonation and put it in your bottles, capped them, let it wait about 2 weeks and you should be good. But if you're looking to get an iGulu or you already have one, this is gonna be for you. If you wanna check out the first video where we actually brewed it, go check that out. I'll put a link up there. You wanna check that out first. All I used was 2 pots and a colander. That's it.
Pretty simple.
Literally things you probably have in your house that you're making soup out of and straining noodles. I literally use stuff straight out of my kitchen. Nothing special. And that's how I brewed it, from mashing all grains. Yes, it's an all grain in the iGulu. All grain, I mashed, I boiled, I did everything. I put it in here, I chilled it down, pitched the yeast, and we rocked on. Now we did a few other things, which I'm gonna go into, but first I wanna introduce, Drew's here.
Hey,
Dude,
I'm back.
We're gonna do a taste testing.
Been looking forward to the triple.
Yeah, he loves triples. This thing's 8.6 plus or minus. I didn't take another reading, but it's probably around 8.6% ABV. It has 31 approximate IBUs and just a beautiful beer. I have been sipping a little on it. I will tell you, when you brew a high gravity beer and you ferment it in the iGulu, you're gonna have a small problem, very small. You can either pull all the trub and yeast that's on the bottom because it's gonna get past that little straw down here, and you're gonna get some, and you can just pour it, dump it, pour it, dump it, and then you'll start getting your beer. Or you do what I did, and I did a little bit of that, made sure I was good on beer. I got another keg, that's right. And also the new kegs, they come with bags. They come with this cool little tool that I didn't think I needed. But I started wedging this around the other day when I've been normally using my fingers, and I'm like, oh man, that's much easier.
Yeah, probably a lot better for you.
It didn't hurt my fingers. I got it in there, wedged it in. It pulled it up enough that I get my whole hand under it and pull it apart. So what I did is, when you buy an extra keg or two, you end up with this cool little hose. They send you a spare, and it is the liquid connector. And I take the other end off of another one that I got, and I put it on the other end. Well, what do I have? I have a jumper.
Yep.
So then you take your keg, I've already done a video about this, you purge it with some CO2. I set it actually on top of this box because it sets perfect. I drop it on its side, but I set it on top, and I just put the jumper on there after I purged it, and I just keep purging, and the beer will transfer, and it'll transfer. And until I get all the beer over here, then I swap kegs. That way I have a keg here with nothing but beer and no trub in the bottom, no gunk. The biggest reason I'd recommended that is so that when you take a keg and you travel and it gets shaken, you don't end up with that haze on a beer that's not supposed to be hazy. You don't want that haze in there. Even if it's supposed to be hazy, you don't want trub floating around in your beer. It's just gross. You don't want that. It's gonna make it overly bitter. But yeah, that's all I did. So I removed the extra trub. And if you do a high ABV beer on the iGulu, it will hit that straw and you're gonna have to purge a little bit. It's not a big deal. It's a common thing in home brewing, even on 5-gallon kegs. When you have a regular dip tube, you're gonna pull a little bit off the bottom sometimes. You pull that first ounce or two, you dump it, and then you pour your beer. It's all good, not a big deal. Well, let's get to the taste test, because I know Drew's dying for it. This has Saz hops. I used a little bit of Saz hops in the ferment, or in the bittering, and then I used a little bit of Saz hops for kind of a finishing hop. And it's using an Abbey Belgian Lullemans yeast or something like that. I don't even remember anymore. You have to go watch video 1. I forgot. I think I just put that as a place. Well, I think I put that as a placeholder because I couldn't remember what I was using.
Oh, well, okay.
So let's pour some beer. I'll pour Drew's first.
Sweet.
We'll make sure you get to see this on camera. It is a little overcarbonated, but not a lot. Okay. There it goes. I don't know what was going on.
I think it was pulling the CO2.
Yeah, but it should have just started coming. Okay, we don't want to get him drunk. So, and yeah, it's not clear, it's hazy. It is what it is, not a big deal. And you can hear that. Every time I pull more beer, it's adjusting by adding more CO2 to compensate for the lack of beer. There you go.
Still got a little bit of stuff in there, but...
Mine looks a lot clearer than yours. Maybe that's what, maybe it's building up a little more trouble.
Oh,
no.
Could be. Yeah, that is way clearer.
Yeah,
it's like a different beer.
Here, let's bring it up to the camera for everybody. Yeah, first pour, I hit a little bit. Second pour, a lot clearer. So, yeah.
Probably tastes the same, so whatever.
I always say flavor is king. I'm going to tell you right away, I'm not going to give the aromas away, but I will tell you it is Belgian, 100% right on the aroma.
Yes, very Belgian. Just kind of smells like a classic triple.
It does. It's very classic. I wasn't trying to go for anything super crazy. I just want it to be enjoyable and something I would enjoy drinking. I always brew for what I want to drink. I don't try to brew for other people. I do brew to let you all have some fun and entertainment, but I still want to make sure I enjoy it. I don't want to waste beer.
A lot more banana than I actually would expect normally, and I like this more
Okay.
than like a regular triple I'd get.
Yep.
Because there's a richer flavor to it. It's not just like that lighter, almost sweet flavor that a lot of triples have.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sweet.
This doesn't have that.
Yeah, you get a hint of sweet, but I think it's from the alcohol level. My biggest thing is I get that, what I call that bubble, a little bit of the bubble gum in the aroma, but I get a lot of banana, I get a hint of clove.
Yeah.
I got some sort of fruits in there, but I think they're very mild. They're kind of mixed in. Not sure what they are.
It's kind of like you just made a high ABV like
Hefeweizen
Yeah.
or Pilsner? Pilsner with wheat.
and like a little bit more bitter than normal.
Yeah, I tried to keep the bitter up because the higher the ABV, the more sweet it's going to be perceived. So I like to push the bitter up a little to the higher range for that style so that it doesn't taste overly sweet, because I don't like a real sweet beer.
After the first couple of sips, you get that sweetness kind of back to where
Yeah.
you'd expect it to be for a triple.
A mild sweet.
Yeah.
It's not overly sweet, which is nice.
Not like sugar, right?
I don't know if
mild.
it's from the Pilsner, the yeast, or the hops. I'm hoping it's the hops, but I get that little spicy bite I normally get when I'm drinking a beer from
It's a
Czech
spicy bite,
that
yeah.
has that saz, and that's that little spiciness that you get in there, and it's really nice. It's really good on the finish, on the tongue.
I like this a lot. Again, it's not the same as like a regular triple I normally get. It's a kind of a richer triple.
Well, I added a little, and I know it doesn't seem like much when you watch the first video, only 2 ounces of victory malt, but that gives it a hint of biscuit, a tiny bit of caramel, and then the rest was just a little bit of carapils, some corn sugar to lighten it up and really get the yeast going, which is pretty common in triples. And in Pilsner, that was really it. Oh, and there was a little bit of carapils, 2 ounces just to help with the head retention, which didn't help me, but helped him a lot. But it's just a great little beer. It's 1 gallon. This, I think, is awesome too for people who just want to try different beers, do a bunch of smash beers or a little bit of experimenting. You're only committing to 1 gallon.
Yeah, something small.
Yeah, and
Don't like it, pour it out.
Yeah, and I showed you don't have to buy any equipment. If you've got like I'd recommend about 16 quarts so you have extra space, but 2 pots and a colander. That's all you need. That's it. And you can brew your beer. Now you might want a spoon if you have to stir things, but not required. And of course you need some sort of a heating element if you don't already have it in your kitchen, or you have one outside, or you could use gas, not a big deal. The hardest thing is basically you just get that, what they call strike temp. You get that heat up a little higher than where you want to go. You add everything, it comes down to a mash temp. Close it up and let it sit. Now if you've got a nice mild heating, electric preferably, you can spike it occasionally if you got to keep the temp up, but if you seal it up properly, it will maintain heat reasonably well. Some people wrap it in towels and you let it sit there for about an hour, hour and a half, and it just helps to pull those sugars out of that grain, and it's all good. Super simple. Anybody can do it. Cheers.